If you're an accountant here in the UK, you know the feeling. That time of year when audit season starts to feel less like a busy period and more like a pressure cooker that's about to blow. But what if all that relentless stress, all those long nights, what if they aren't just part of the job? Today, we're going to look at a modern solution that's genuinely changing the game for firms, maybe just like yours. Let's just start with this number because it says it all, really. Recent studies are showing that a staggering 85 to 90% of accountants are dealing with high levels of stress. Look, this isn't just about being busy. This is a full-blown crisis that's hammering people's well-being and, you guessed it, the quality of their work. And this quote, it just hits the nail on the head. The old way of doing things, just piling more and more pressure onto the same internal team, it's just reaching its breaking point. It's a huge signal that something in the industry really has to change. So first up, let's really dig into this audit stress crisis. Let's get a handle on the pressure that firms are actually under. It's not just one thing causing all this pain. It's what some are calling a perfect storm. You've got the crazy long hours, regulations that just get more and more complex, and a massive staff shortage, all hitting at the same time. That combination turns peak season into an absolute nightmare, and it's a recipe for mistakes, which seriously ramps up the risk for the entire firm. And this table here, this shows you what that feels like day to day. That excessive workload? It's hitting with a very high impact, not once a week, but every single day. And that's all happening while you're constantly battling staff shortages. It's this relentless, high-stakes cycle of pressure, and frankly, it's burning people out. But here's the thing about a crisis. It often forces us to innovate. All this pressure is actually creating demand for a lifeline, a new way of thinking. So let's talk about that modern solution, outsourcing. So what does outsourced audit support actually mean? Well, let's be clear. This isn't about replacing your team. It's about a strategic partnership. Think of it like bringing in specialists for specific, time-consuming jobs. This frees up your in-house experts to focus on the stuff where they really, truly add the most value. And this is where it gets really practical. So what kind of work are we talking about? Well, under documentation, you've got things like compiling all those working papers. For technical review, imagine offloading internal controls testing. And for compliance, all those statutory checks. These are all absolutely essential, but they're also repetitive tasks that are just perfect for a specialized external team to handle. Okay, so we know what it is, but why on earth should a firm even consider it? Let's get into the tangible benefits, the real-world results that show why this approach actually works. First, and maybe the most obvious benefit, is that you get an immediate reduction in your team's workload. Instead of going through a long, painful, and often impossible recruitment process, outsourcing gives you instant access to skilled professionals. This lets your own people step back from the grind and focus on high-value work, like building those crucial client relationships. And how much of a drop are we talking about? Well, firms that do this typically see their workload fall by 30 to 50% during those insane peak periods. Just think about what that actually means for your team. A better work-life balance, way less burnout, and a happier, more effective group of people. Now, the second benefit might sound a bit counterintuitive, but it is so important. Outsourcing can actually enhance your quality. See, external specialists bring a fresh pair of eyes. They aren't bogged down by office politics or old habits. They're just focused on the task at hand. This adds a whole new layer of quality control, which helps catch errors and makes the entire audit process that much stronger. And of course, we have to talk about the bottom line, because beyond the stress relief and the quality boosts, outsourcing is a seriously cost-effective solution. Let's actually look at the numbers. Just take a look at this comparison. For an internal hire, you've got the salary, the training costs, the overheads. With an outsourced partner, because resources are shared, things like training and overhead can drop to basically zero. It makes the overall expense dramatically lower. When you add it all up, it comes out to an average annual saving of around 58%. That is a massive financial advantage that firms can then reinvest into growing the business, new technology, or, actually rewarding their staff for all their hard work. The benefits are pretty clear, right? But how do you actually make it work in practice? Because a successful partnership doesn't just happen by accident. It takes some smart implementation. The good news is there are options to fit pretty much any kind of firm. The FTE, or full-time equivalent model, that's great if you have a consistent, high volume of work. The ad hoc model is literally perfect for those seasonal peaks we talked about. And of course, a hybrid approach gives you the best of both worlds, maximum flexibility. And bringing a new partner into the fold doesn't have to be some huge, complicated thing. It really just boils down to two key practices. First, you have to establish crystal clear communication. Things like daily updates, weekly check-ins. Second, you need robust quality assurance measures right from the start, like standardized templates and regular file reviews. It's all about setting clear expectations and keeping standards high. Now, of course, outsourcing brings up some valid concerns, and it's really important to tackle these head-on, because any reputable provider has built their entire business around solving these exact problems. The first big one, and it's completely understandable, is data security. You're handling incredibly sensitive client information, and you absolutely have to know that it's protected. So what's the solution? You look for providers who have ISO 27001 certification. This is the international gold standard for information security. It's not just a pinky promise. It is hard proof that they have comprehensive, audited systems in place to protect your data. And on top of that, every single engagement should be locked down with a strict non-disclosure agreement, or NDA. This gives you a legal framework that ensures client confidentiality is not just a priority, but is completely enforceable. The second major concern is all about quality. How can you be sure that the work being done by an external team meets your firm's high standards? Well, the key is constant performance monitoring, regular reviews, and using things like client satisfaction metrics to ensure consistent, high-quality delivery. Any good provider will have this baked right into their process. And all of this brings us to one final big question. The evidence is all around us. The accounting profession is under an immense amount of strain, and the old models are cracking under the pressure. So with solutions out there that can reduce workload, improve quality, and save money, the question really isn't, can we afford to change anymore? It's, can we afford not to? Thanks for watching.